College basketball is back. Oh, it feels so good. Let's take a shot to celebrate this. Cheers to college basketball. Oh man, welcome back to NotSo MidMajor, where we are going to be back to talking about college basketball. It is another favorite sport of mine, and the reason why I kind of have this name of NotSo MidMajor is because I really do love mid majors, and as you can tell, I am a Gonzaga fan, so we are going to be talking mostly about Gonzaga. I'm sorry to a lot of other mid majors, but we are going to be touching base on a lot of other mid majors this year as well, especially the ones that are in the rankings. And just yesterday, there was the first ever preseason ranking for this year's college basketball for college men, and we have four mid majors in the top 25. So let's talk about each and every single one of them. And in the top 10, at number 10, we have Florida Atlantic University, FAU, the big story of last year's NCAA tournament. And normally I don't include a lot of AAC teams because that's really a high major conference, let's be honest about it. But since this is their first year in the AAC, we will talk about them this year. Who knows if we'll talk about it next year because there'll be then that conference ongoing. But let's see, what is the team looking like this year? Well, actually, let's talk about something really first. This is the first time since 2017's preseason rankings that there is another mid-major that is higher than Gonzaga. That team in 2017, Wichita State, started 7th and then finished in 16th just behind Gonzaga. So we'll see what FAU does this year. Are they going to stay ahead or are they going to fall behind Gonzaga? So let's talk about their NCAA performance last year. In the tournament, they made a Final Four as a 9 seed. They beat now in conference rival 8 seed Memphis. They also beat the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson, who beat Purdue last year, as you all remember. 4 seed Tennessee and 3 seed Kansas State, and then lost to San Diego State, who was 5 seed, just by 1 point. And last year's tournament was awesome story. Fairleigh Dickinson beating another 1 seed that we haven't seen in a little bit. And then also San Diego State making their first ever championship game, which we will be talking about a little bit later. But FAU, who is returning? Basically everyone from that 9-man rotation except Michael Forrest. We have their main 4 of Elijah Martin, Jonell Davis, Nicholas Boyd, and Vladislav Golden. And from that 9-man rotation, there was 7 total players averaging at least 20 minutes a game. So it's a very cohesive, solid team. And surprisingly, a fairly low Ken Palm rankings. We're going to be referencing Ken Palm a lot this season just to make it a little bit fair for mid-major teams. Ken Palm really does have a good analytics of these rankings. Fairly low, 37th on the list, just ahead of St. Mary's, and just right behind a former not-so-mid-major team of BYU. And in those rankings, it seemed pretty balanced on offense and defense, but apparently not as good as how they finished last year. So we'll see if that changes as the season goes on. Maybe this team does still stay unified as they were last year, and who knows, they may make another Final Four run, if not go for the championships, but we'll see. So what is FAU's schedule looking like this year? Let's touch upon the key games. Loyola Chicago to start off the season on November 8th, which is an away game. Then there's the ESPN events tournament over Thanksgiving break where they will for sure start off playing Butler, then either Penn State or Texas A&M after that. Either Iowa State, VCU, Boise State, or Virginia Tech in that final game, but we'll see. As of right now, they will play the 25-ranked Illinois on December 5th in New York City, and then St. Bonaventure on December 16th in Massachusetts, and then the current ranked 12 Arizona team on December 23rd in Las Vegas, and then they will play conference Memphis on February 25th, will be their away game, and then March 9th to finish off the season at home. So who knows? FAU maybe stays in the top 10. Maybe they drop a little bit, but I think this is a very solid team. I think they will make that run for the Sweet 16. I really do think this is an Elite 8 team, so we'll see if they can make that magic happen that they did last year, and hopefully going forward they still have that much success. It'll be great to see this team to continue to build more and more as the years goes on, especially in the AAC. They're going to get that testing of that compared to last year in the CSUN, I believe that they were. So we'll see. And just behind FAU, my team Gonzaga, ranked 11 this year. And this is also the first time since 2017 that Gonzaga has a preseason ranking outside of that top 10. In 2017, they were ranked 18th, finished 8th, and then lost in the Sweet 16 to Florida State. So let's talk about some of Gonzaga from last year. Last year they beat Michigan State, Kentucky, Xavier, Alabama, and St. Mary's twice during the season. Then they also lost to Texas, Baylor, Purdue, and St. Mary's once. They also had a pretty bad loss against Loyola Marymount at home in Spokane too. During the tournament, they were a 3 seed, beating 14 seed Grand Canyon, 6 seed TCU, 2 seed UCLA, and then lost to 4 seed UConn, who went on to win the entire tournament. And who's returning this year for Gonzaga? Anton Watson, Ben Gregg, Nolan Hickman. It's just those three from the main rotation, but they, as always in every single year, get transfer students. Graham Ike from Wyoming, Steele Ventiers from Eastern Washington, and Andrew Nemhard's brother, Ryan Nemhard from Creighton, is joining the team. And they're actually ranked pretty high in Ken Palm, 5th overall with the best offense apparently, and the 26th best defense in that rankings that Ken Palm has. It's honestly a pretty solid 6 guys that we just kind of named off. My biggest concern is who's going to step up as leader. I don't know if Anton Watson's going to be the leader or if Nolan Hickman's going to be the leader as just the returning guys. Or maybe if Ryan Nemhard can talk to his brother Andrew and see what it is that he learned from Mark Few to make into the NBA. Maybe Ryan steps up to be the leader, but I think he is probably going to be the biggest factor in all this of who is going to be that leader, who is going to step up. And to be honest, Gonzaga is going to need a lot of leadership this year, especially with this schedule. Probably one of the toughest schedules in their history. Starting off with the Maui Jim Invitational Tournament, where they're going to have to start off playing against the 3rd-ranked team, Purdue, and then either Tennessee or Syracuse after that, and then either Kansas, UCLA, Marquette, or Chaminade. They'll play the currently ranked 21st team, USC, in Las Vegas on December 2nd, and then UW on December 9th in Seattle, which I guess is technically more of a home game for UW, but it's not at UW Stadium, but we'll see. And then I guess more on the inverse, it's going to technically be a home game for Gonzaga despite it also being in Seattle. Going to be playing the current 6th ranked team UConn on December 15th, and then play a true home game on December 29th against the current 17th ranked team SDSU, which we will talk about later. And then during the season for WCC, we'll play St. Mary's, who is currently ranked 23rd, at home on February 3rd, and then away on March 2nd, which will be the last game of the season for them. And then in the middle of the WCC conference play, Gonzaga will play the current ranked 16th team, Kentucky, which will be in Kentucky on February 10th. And oh boy, that's a schedule to have. I really hope this team is prepared for it, because it does seem like a down year for Gonzaga compared to most. They are not really talked about as to be that team. So personally, I know that the goal is going to be, let's make the Sweet 16, maybe make the Elite 8, but who knows beyond that if it's going to be possible to be a Final Four team, to be a championship team. It's definitely a different year for the Zags team, and we will talk more about them as the season goes on, so I'm going to have a lot of hope for my team and cheer for them a lot. So then now let's just move on to the next team, San Diego State, who is currently ranked 17th. Last year was ranked 19th, and then was in and out of the top 25 as the season went on, finished 20th. Last year, San Diego got wins over BYU, Ohio State, Utah State 3 different times, who made the tournament, and it was impressive to get all 3 of those wins. Just 1 win over Boise State and 1 win over Nevada. There was also losses to Arizona, Arkansas, St. Mary's, as well as a loss to New Mexico, Nevada, and Boise State. Again, those Mountain West teams all made the tournament, so those are definitely losses that affected them. In the NCAA tournament last year, they were seeded 5th. There was wins over 12 seed Charleston, who is actually getting votes this year, 13 seed Furman, 1st seed Alabama, 6th seed Creighton, 9 seed FAU, and then ended up losing in the championship game to 4 seed UConn. And what a tournament it was last year for San Diego State. I hope you guys are hungry for more, because I was there for Gonzaga's first ever Final Four in Arizona and championship in Arizona as well when we lost to UNC, unfortunately. So I hope you guys are just as hungry as I am to get back into the Final Four and hopefully win a championship. And then this year, I mean, SDSU is ranked 29th in KenPom with a top 15 defense and just squeaked into the top 50 at number 50 in offense. Also, still pretty slow team that you're going to be seeing this year. They're ranked 286 out of 362 teams, so who knows what San Diego's plan is. It's going to be definitely that heavy defense, slow tempo team that we're used to seeing each and every year from them. So who's returning from last year for San Diego State? Lamont Butler, Micah Parrish, Jaden Lee D, and Darian Trammell, plus adding in transfers, one from USC, Reese Dixon Waters, and from Campbell, Jay Powell. To be honest, I'm very impressed by Jay Powell. I think he's going to be the quiet leader on this team. He is going to be the one that's going to be the playmaker and the one to really boost this team throughout the season. So we will see how he does. So then what's San Diego State's schedule this year? Well, they'll start off playing BYU on November 10th, which is away in Utah. Then they'll play in the Continental Tires Tournament, which they'll start off playing the 23rd ranked team St. Mary's, and then either UW or Xavier after that. Then they'll play against Stanford on December 21st, which is a home game in San Diego. And then they'll play in an away game at Gonzaga in Spokane, the current 11th ranked team, on December 29th. And then during the Mountain West Conference games, they'll play Boise State on January 20th, which will be the away game. And then on March 9th, which is going to be a home game for San Diego State. And then New Mexico, which will be an away game on January 13th, and then a home game on February 16th. And again, I think the question is, how good is the San Diego State team? Can they make a Final Four again this year? Who knows, but I think they'll definitely get into the Sweet 16. I really do think that there's going to be a big push for the Elite Eight, but again, it's going to be dependent on those matchups that are going to be later on. Are there going to be upsets? Who knows, but I think this is a good Sweet 16 team for San Diego State and hopefully get back into the Elite Eight as well. And unfortunately, talking about the last team that's ranked, but I am happy you guys are ranked because you are representing the WCC. The 23rd ranked team, St. Mary's. Last year, what did they do? They beat San Diego State. They did beat Gonzaga in overtime in Spokane. They got 3 wins over BYU, but then there was a loss to Houston in the battle for 50 points, which we will talk about in a little bit. They did lose to University of Washington, New Mexico, Colorado State, Loyola Marymount, and Gonzaga twice. In the tournament last year, they were a 5 seed and they beat the 12 seed VCU, but then also lost to the 4 seed UConn, who won it all. UConn beat 3 of the 4 teams that we talked about, and technically speaking, beat all 4 teams because FAU lost to San Diego State. So, good job, UConn. You beat MidMajors. And this team is going to be painfully slow. Like I mentioned about that Houston St. Mary's game last year, it was so hurtful to watch. It was so slow because it was surprising that a team got 50 points. I think Houston got 53, St. Mary's got 48 last year, and this year's team is going to be absolutely no different. KenPom has this team overall ranked 38th with an equal balance on both offense and defense, but the adjusted tempo. There are a total of 362 Divisional I basketball teams. St. Mary's is ranked 359th, meaning they're projected 4th slowest team this year. And who's slower than them? Jacksonville, who is going to be 3rd slowest, Texas Tech, 2nd slowest, and Virginia, the slowest team projected this year. I really want to see a St. Mary's Virginia game at some point in time because I want to see what it looks like to see a battle for 30 points. How boring of a game do you need to make basketball, St. Mary's and Virginia for that matter? And who's returning this year? Well, Aiden Mahaney and who's returning this year? Well, it's their main core. Aiden Mahaney, Mitchell Saxton, Augustus Marislonis, get ready for that name, and Alex Dukas. And to be honest, I do think, for a lot of different reasons, that this St. Mary's team might and probably will beat Gonzaga 2 out of the 3 matchups that are projected this year, because St. Mary's has retained their core. Gonzaga has a basically new squad this year, and St. Mary's might win the WCC tournament. I think that second win for St. Mary's is going to be in the WCC championship. So I think St. Mary's will beat Gonzaga this year, but we will see. And personally, I hope not, but please, St. Mary's, represent the WCC well in the NCAA tournament. I hope you and I match up in the finals as well. And again, I hope Gonzaga beats you. And to wrap it up, St. Mary's schedule this year. Well, keynotes of New Mexico at home on November 9th. And then they will, like I mentioned before, play in the Continental Tires Tournament, starting off playing against the 17 ranked San Diego State team for sure. And then either UW or Xavier after that. They will also play Davidson on November 24th at home. And then play Boise State on December 1st. It's kind of technically away, but not truly away. It's in Idaho Falls, Idaho, so kind of a home game for Boise State in that moment. And then in the WCC, playing Gonzaga, as I mentioned before, on February 3rd, which will be the St. Mary's away game, and then play the home game on March 2nd. So we will see how St. Mary's fares in both those games against Gonzaga, but I really hope Gonzaga wins. So we will see how that happens. And I know that there's other mid-major teams that are getting votes, so let me just touch base on them. Boise State, Charleston, Drake, New Mexico. I hope to talk to you in future videos that I have this year. But I just wanted to keep this length video pretty short because there's a lot of teams to talk about, especially if we have going to be 8. I don't want to dive in deep between all 8 of them, but I hope to see you guys soon in the top 25 so you can get the mentions here. But until next time, please let me know down below, who do you think is going to be the best mid-major team this year? Is it going to be FAU, Gonzaga, San Diego State, St. Mary's, maybe one of the ones getting votes, maybe someone that's not getting votes at all? Who's going to be the surprise this year? What is going to be looking like this year? Again, we will do one last cheers, and I hope you all stay safe. I hope you all stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.